Don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into today's video. Hey guys, we're back again here with another story about Lidia Thorpe. I know I'm sick of talking about her. I'm over it, but she keeps doing stupid things to get into the news, so we need to talk about it. And I'm hoping, dear God, they just, I don't know, maybe put her on Manus Island or something. Can we like chisel off a piece of bloody bark, put her on that and float her out to sea? Because I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about it too. But we've got a story from The Guardian, and Lidia Thorpe the other day decided she's going on a racist drunken rant after leaving a strip club of all places. I mean, goes to show you what our politicians are up to and what they're getting paid to do. I mean, I can't afford to go to a strip club. But, you know, whatever. Lidia Thorpe's at a strip club, getting drunk, having a time of her life, and decided she saw a couple of white fellas and decided she's going to start hurling racist abuse at them. Now, can you imagine if this was the other way around? If a whole bunch of white fellas at a strip club come outside and they saw poor Lidia Thorpe sitting there in the gutter sniffing petrol or doing whatever she's doing, and and they started hurling abuse at her. Can you imagine the tirade of Channel 7 and news reports and the never-ending SBS documentaries and ABC documentaries that they would have come out about that incident and that night down the valley, or that night on the town where I was attacked by racist white men and all I was doing was sniffing glue? Can you imagine the headlines? But the media's had a crack at her again anyway, because she's gone too far this time and she's lost the plot. Not that she ever had the plot to begin with, but this time it's something different. So we'll take a look at this story from The Guardian. Lidia Thorpe says mental health and speculation is racist and misogynistic attempt to discredit her. The independent Senator Lidia Thorpe says the speculation about her mental health is a racist and misogynistic narrative used to discredit outspoken women, and claim political opponents, including Anthony Albanese, are trying to drag her down. After a video emerged of the Victorian Senator engaged in an expletive-laden argument outside of Melbourne Strip Club on the weekend, the Prime Minister suggested health issues could be behind the incident and said he hoped that she gets some support. The footage captured in the early hours of Sunday outside of Brunswick Club, where Thorpe was attending a birthday party, was first broadcast by 7 News. One person off the camera can be heard calling Thorpe a racist dog. She replies, "Any black man that stands in with the effing white little cunt like that, you can all get fucked too." In a statement on Thursday, Thorpe said she was provoked and stood up for herself. She said the story should be about her claims of racist brazenly harassing a senator. There we go. And she can't go out without being harassed by racists. This is a racism black... Is that supposed to be black people without a C? So it's a black fella. Black people deal with every day in this colony. It's a country. She said in the statement, her first substantial comment on the incident. "Isn't it interesting that there were hundreds of stories about me responding to racist harassment, and yet none on the single story about the Saturday being a 32nd anniversary of the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody?" What? I'm sorry, but if a sitting senator goes out to a strip club, gets drunk and starts swearing and racially attacking people, I'm pretty sure that's going to make the fucking newspaper. I don't think people are going to fucking forget about it. Maybe if she was so worried about Aboriginal deaths in custody, what'd she say? It was the 32nd anniversary of the Royal Commission. It's 32 years old, so it's older than me. If she was so worried about the 32nd anniversary of the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths, why was she going out for a night on the town to a strip club and getting drunk and racially abusing people? You know, if she'd been arrested that night and had died in custody, it would have been a terrible thing. Don't get me wrong. Terrible. Mm-mm. But maybe then they would have brought it up. Maybe a bit of martyrdom might bring light to the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths. But do you know what doesn't bring light to the Royal Commission on Aboriginal deaths? Getting drunk and hurling racial abuse against white people and saying that they've stolen your land. Thorpe, who has resisted backing the Voice to Parliament referendum, has previously said she would consider backing the Indigenous voice only if the government implemented the recommendations of the Deaths in Custody report, which was delivered in April 1991. There is a history of white men in power using the media to attack and demonise black people that stand up to racism, Thorpe said. Saying I need mental help is a continuation of the old racist, misogynistic narrative used to discredit and silence outspoken and strong women, particularly black women. I am disappointed by the opportunism and politicians of Canberra, including the PM, using this to drag me down. But more than that, I am heartened and inspired by hundreds of messages of support I've received from every corner of the country. Oh, now it's a country and not a colony. She said, while the Prime Minister and others have used this to try to undermine my progress, I've been busy out in the community talking to First Nations leaders about solutions to the problems that people face every day. In Thorpe's statement, she said she was not afraid to challenge the government and fight to improve the lives of First Nations people in this country. Well, she's taken the narrative off of her drunken racist torrent of crap coming out of her mouth that night and trying to turn it into a race baiting incident and saying that I'm here to help local Aboriginals and the First Nations people. What was the last time she went to the Alice? When the last time she went out to a dry community? It was the last time she went to Western Australia, out to the Pilbara, somewhere out to where First Nations people are living. When was the last time she did that? She commented on Alice Springs and all of the absolutely horrendous apocalyptic lifestyle that they're living in now, because the amount of teenagers and Aboriginal teenagers are going around breaking into businesses, vandalising things, burning things down, assaulting people, thieving, robbing, you name it. It's turned it into a purge day every single night as soon as the bloody sun goes down in Alice Springs. Has she said anything about that? No. She is nothing but a hypocrite, and she is out for people's money. That's why they want the voice. That's why they want... See, it doesn't affect me, because my dad's Aboriginal, so I'm Aboriginal. It affects you white fellas. I mean, you can see from my complexion how Aboriginal I am. But if they let the voice in, people with my skin tone who are Aboriginal, we get to make all the rules, don't we? So... no more camping on Fraser Island. No more driving up to the Cape. No more going and walking on Uluru. No more going into Crown Land or anything like that, because that's all ours now. And you white fellas should be paying us rent for having the privilege of living here in this great country of ours that you've invaded. And no more Australia Day. It's Invasion Day. That's what they want. They want to pit black Indigenous people against white Australians. I mean, what do you call it? They're not colonisers. I mean, I don't remember getting my ancestors getting sent here willingly. This is the stupidity of this whole voice argument, and she is just trying to shift the blame from her going out on a drunken night and swearing and carrying on at people and being the most racist pig of a thing that you can imagine. I mean, can you imagine if the tables were turned and those guys were hurling racial torrents of abuse at her and calling her a dirty black this and blah, 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 blah. Can you imagine the headlines? You'd never hear the end of it. There'd be a 60 minutes bloody investigation into it. There'd be a book deal. There'd be you can imagine. There'd be toys. there'd be little McDonald's toys, and it'd have Lydia Thorpe every time, and she'd be like holding a burning flag and be like, "Black power, you white supremacists." It'd be never ending, and we'd never hear. We'd probably have a day of mourning for it, honestly. But it just goes to show you that even the Guardian, Australian Morning Mail, whatever it is, they go and like follow her narrative with it instead of sitting there and going, well, this is all the racist shit she said, this is what she was attacking those people on, and this is how much drama she's caused from that incident. They listen to what she says, and they keep, look, she's still talking about, when I talk about treaty, I'm talking about a path to peace. Well, no, we're not here to talk about treaty and a path to peace. We're here to talk about how you went out on the piss, started punching on and carrying on like a fucking pork chop, and being massively racist. How we, like the guy says in the video, how did you get elected? Like, how are you in Parliament? How are you a senator? This is the laughing stock of the country, this woman. It is disgusting that she has a job. It is disgusting that she is even making the news anymore. I mean, any time that there's any sort of media to be had, she goes out and attacks, like, was it Posey Parker or whatever her name is? She was talking on women's rights, and then this stupid cow goes and tackles her and tries to make it about her. I mean, I'm surprised if she's not like going into children's cancer wards or leukemia wards and be like, oh, you know, it's my day too because I'm oppressed and I'm sad and I'm a First Nations person. Her dad's come out since this event and says that she was raised in a pretty wealthy little neighborhood, and that she was never this racist and I don't know, unhinged. I think she needs to go on to the meds, or maybe get off whatever she's on. Who the hell knows what she's on? Maybe she's smoking a bit too much, or I don't know. But maybe she does need a bit of drug testing or alcohol AA meetings or something like that, whatever we have here. Because if she's batting around with bikies, feeding them information, getting drunk and going out to strip clubs and abusing people racially, and she's a senator, can you imagine if Pauline Hanson did any of that? Wow, would the media be in a firestorm over that? But I'm not even going to finish reading that story. That's just her propaganda she's putting out again. But we'll see where it goes. But I doubt she's going to lose a job. I'm pretty sure she should have lost her job 3 or 4 times over by now. But no, she's still there. We still keep hearing about her, and her stupid voice and her stupid ideas keep coming through, don't they? Now, we all know Canada's politicians bend over backwards for the left, and they pretty much will do anything for 5 minutes of fame and to get their names in all sorts of news, whether it's good news or bad news. They really don't care. Trudeau is raising his political party and pundits as nonces and weirdos, just the way he likes it. So we'll take a look at these 2 stories here. This first one's from the Post-Millennial. Canadian MPs prance about in hot pink high heels to raise awareness about domestic violence against women. Male Canadian lawmakers have come under fire after donning pink high heels and raise awareness about violence against women. The politicians were participating in Hope for High Heels campaign sponsored by the Halton Women's Place. The event, which has been running for 4 years, aims to educate men and the boys about gender-based violence while also raising funds for the women's shelter. However, the sight of male MPs prancing around in pink heels has been met with criticism from some social media users who found the spectacle insulting and argue that it trivialises the issue of violence against women. The circus is not helping women in any way, shape or form. It's men having a goddamn laugh, one Twitter user wrote. Male violence against women is not a laughing matter, and it certainly won't be reduced by a sick bunch of pricks parading around in heels. Others echoed the sentiment, arguing that male violence against women should be tackled through laws and norms, punishing perpetrators rather than through a circus that fails to address the root cause of the problem. I don't know about you, but violence against women or any spouse or violence against anyone is generally punished by law quite thoroughly. At least here in Australia, it is. I know it still happens, obviously, but I don't think the ramifications of law and possible jail time or whatever it is deter these people from hitting their spouse. I mean, violence against women has obviously been going down over the last century or so because it's not acceptable. I mean, we all know where the rule of thumb saying comes from. It used to be a old colloquial saying is you're allowed to beat your wife with nothing but a stick, but it can't be thicker than your thumb. That was an old saying, and obviously we don't beat our wives with a stick no thicker than a thumb. Unless you're R. Kelly, of course, or... oh, no, I suppose that was a teenager, wasn't it? So he wasn't married. Well. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows beating your missus is a bad thing to do. I mean, only VB drinkers and people who... probably mostly Victorians do that. But, just in case we didn't get the message, a bunch of MPs walking around in pink high heels is really going to get that message across. I mean, if anyone gets beaten in that relationship that those MPs are in, I think it would be the MP and not their wives or boyfriends in that case. I mean, some of these guys walking around in these high heels have obviously done that before. I don't know about you, but if I'd been put in high heels, I don't think I could make it 5 steps, and these people are walking around the office all day in them. So I don't know about you, but I've got a few questions to ask these MPs, but we'll finish the story here from the Post-Millennial. Men doing drag light doesn't exactly say be confident in our ability to protect you in public as you go about your lives, ladies. That's what women need. Laws and norms punishing male violence against women harshly. Protection because we are physically weak and not because we wear heels, another Twitter user wrote. The controversy surrounding Hope in High Heels campaign has compounded by a recent event in which a transgender woman was arrested for allegedly sexually assaulting a woman at a women's shelter in Windsor, Ontario. The accused 32-year-old Desiree Anderson, also known as Cody D. Intermont, reportedly surrendered to police after the alleged assault, which has raised questions about whether women's shelters should allow transgender women to stay with other women. Well, doesn't that just put a blanket on it? If they're that worried about men beating up women where they're letting them into women's shelters, you're going about it the wrong way. I mean, you're trying to make it so that women are protected from these aggressive men, but then you're letting men into women's shelters. You can't have it both ways. That's how that kind of stuff happens. But Canada, not being wanting to be left out of the limelight for too long, has the Canadian politics is a bit of a circus show. Anyway, if you're Canadian, I'm sorry for your loss, but you guys voted it in, and you guys are stuck with it. You had plenty of chances to vote that clown out, that backface clown out, but you didn't, and I don't feel bad for you anymore. If you live in Quebec or you live in a major city there, you're probably voting for this clown. But we'll take a look at Trudeau's latest tirade. He got a little bit upset at Elon Musk because the CBC quits Twitter after being labelled a government-funded media. So Elon's come out and decided that he's going to start labelling media as if it's government-funded, like Russia Today, that's obviously government-funded, ABC, SBS, BBC, and here in this case, the CBC. Now, they didn't appreciate that very much. I don't think any of them did, but they all deserved it. And Elon, being the major online troll that he is, and having a fantastic sense of humour, after they come out and said that they were only partially funded by the government, he decided to, they said about less than 70%. So he said, well, here we go. It says 69% funded by the government. Just as a little joke there from Elon, as he does love his trolling and memes. So we'll take a look at this story. This one's from timcast.com. CBC quits Twitter after being labelled government-funded media. Trudeau comments. Pierre Poilievre, we must protect Canadians against disinformation and manipulation by state media. Pierre, if you don't know who he is, go and look him up. He is a fantastic voice on the Canadian, I don't know how their politics work really well there, but the Canadian Parliament system. He is absolutely fantastic. He schools Trudeau on a daily basis. Everyone loves him, and I hope to God, for the sake of humanity and the sake of Canadians everywhere, he is going to be their next Prime Minister or whatever the hell needs to happen for that to happen. They need to get rid of Trudeau and put Poilievre in. He is fantastic. I don't know quite a lot about him because I'm not a voter in Canada, obviously. But if you guys have any sort of future in Canada, it is not under Trudeau. And Pierre might actually save them. So we'll take a look at these comments here. The outlet, along with all the CBC and Radio Canada related Twitter accounts, will reportedly pause all activity on Twitter. In a Monday statement, CBC Media Relations Director Leon Ma said Twitter was a tool for journalists to communicate. Through the outlet, decision to falsely label the outlet as government-funded media was undermining CBC's work, the Post-Millennial reported. In an email to the Canadian press, Ma alleged Twitter had not contacted the CBC regarding the decision on the label the outlet. The CBC had subsequently sent a letter to Twitter requesting the outlet to reevaluate their decision. I think it says a lot about the Conservative Party of Canada choosing to constantly attack independent media organisations, journalists who are working hard to keep Canadians informed and support our democracy, Trudeau said. On a Canadian Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's request for Twitter to label CBC as a government-funded media last week, CBC serves right across the country, delivers local news and local content in many regions of the country that, yes, has been challenged over the past years. But the idea of adding to the changes and laying on an attack by this Canadian institution, attacking the culture and the local content that is so important to so many Canadians, really indicates the values and the approach of Mr. Poilievre is putting forward. I think it is telling that in order to attack the institution that is important for many Canadians, he runs it to American billionaires. Wow, is he a little spicy over that? I mean, if the Canadian government is actively funding a media organisation, majority of their funding comes from the Canadian government, how do you get upset when someone says that they're government-funded media? That's all it is. It's just a little tag under their Twitter profile. I mean, would they be upset if he didn't do that to Russia Today? I'm sure they would. I'm sure they'd be screaming and kicking that Russia Today is even on Twitter still. But, you know, it's rules for them and not for us. It's everyone has to do what we say. Everyone has to shut up and listen to what media we put out. And how dare you point out that it's government-funded media? Well, it is. It's the truth. If it's funded by the government, what's the harm of putting a label on it saying that? I mean, if you have sugar or dairy or nuts or something in a product, you have to put a label on it stating that it is in that product, gluten, whatever it is, because that is poisonous. It could kill someone. If you are allergic to nuts or something like that, it could kill you if you consume that product. So what's the difference between labeling a product with poison in it, potentially poison for some people, and labeling information to tell people where it's come from? It gives everyone, you know, this clear perspective of, well, you can point at that and you can say, well, that's owned by BlackRock, that's owned by Vanguard, that's owned by Canadian government, that's owned by, even, say, Fox News or something like that. You want to know where you're getting your information from. And it's amazing that when the left gets a little uptight about something like this, it's they come out both barrels blazing, and even Trudeau's upset by it. Last week, the Conservative Party Canada leader noted the CBC received almost $1.24 billion from the Canadian government, according to their 2021-2022 annual report, in his request to Twitter. We must protect Canadians against disinformation and manipulation by state media, Poilievre said. His request for Twitter to be labelled to label the outlet, it is in fact, and Canadians deserve the facts. Here's his tweet here. We must protect Canadians against disinformation and manipulation by the state media. This is why I'm asking Twitter and Elon Musk to accurately label the CBC as government-funded media. It is a fact, and Canadians deserve the facts. That's completely true. Last week, National Public Radio NPR also received Twitter's latest label. Similarly decided to step away from Twitter, citing a risk to their credibility. NPR produces consequential independent journalism every day in service to the public. The outlet wrote on Wednesday Twitter post encouraging users to download the NPR application. NPR also instructed readers to follow the outlet's newsletter along with their Instagram and Facebook. It'd be fantastic if Instagram and Facebook come out and started doing the same thing. I mean, anytime you mention the C word or jabbish word around Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it pops up and you get a little notification underneath letting you know that you need to go and talk to the government or read something from the government to get your facts straight. It'd be entertaining if those other major social media companies started following suit with Elon, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. That is why Twitter is so important right now that we're getting our facts straight, because Elon doesn't really go to either side. He's not left, he's not right. I think he's more really just a humanitarian, and a lot like Russell Brand or even Joe Rogan, you could kind of put them in the middle of the spectrum as well. And yes, they're right on some topics, yes, they're left on some others, but all in all, I think that they're just honest, if anything, and they try to let you make up your own mind, and I don't think putting a label on it, telling you where all the funding's coming from, is a bad thing. I would never have our content go anywhere that would risk our credibility, said NPR CEO John Lansing said in an interview. At this point, I've lost faith in my decision in making at Twitter. The Twitter defines government-funded media as outlets where the government provides some or all of the outlet funding and may have varying degrees of government involved over editorial content. So it's kind of like how the Twitter files revealed that the government is going to Twitter and other companies like Google, Facebook, YouTube, and asking them to censor and de-rank certain, or just blatantly take people off of there and censor them because they don't agree with the thing that person is saying. So it's like if you're trying to say that your favorite color is blue on Facebook, and Facebook goes, okay, well, whatever. And then the government says, no, we don't want people liking blue. We want people to go green. We want everything to be green. So I want you to go in there, de-rank that content so no one sees it, or block the user so we can't post it, or outright ban them in some cases. And Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, those places have been doing that. And it makes you wonder what kind of place we'd be in right now, post all this virus outbreak and all that, where we would be right now if that information and things like that were not censored, at least censored as bad as some things were, like ivermectin, the things about, adverse reactions, all that. And if if they'd come out and just let all the information sit there on the table for everyone to discuss and look at freely, I think we'd be in a lot better place, and I think there'd be a lot less people dropping dead at the moment from various weird reasons. But that's just climate change. Remember, that's climate change causing all those heart problems, and it'd be interesting to see if what would have happened in the last election, even not just in America, but like around the world, in Canada, Australia, Germany, France, all these places, England. It'd be interesting to see what would have happened if all of those social media companies had just stayed out of it and didn't put their political bias onto those things. And Canada is probably one of the worst places for it. Now, I'm very, very keen to see what things that the Australian government had asked Twitter and other companies like Google to censor, de-rank, and ban. And I'd say it'd be a lot along the lines of the same stuff that the US did and the Biden government. Even Trump's government did the same thing. Not to a massive extent like the Biden government has, but yes, they asked them to censor certain information, which is, by all rights, a crime against humanity, and freedom of speech and the freedom to think and believe what you want, freedom of religion, is not just, we don't have it written down here in Australia like the Americans do there. England's a lot the same. I mean, you can go back to Magna Carta, but no one reads that. It is a fundamental right of a human being. I mean, I don't think you need to express any sort of piece of paperwork to show that you have fundamental human rights. And I think we're getting further and further away from that, especially here in Australia. New Zealand is getting into a scary position right now. Canada's probably long gone. America's on the way. I mean, if Americans are losing their freedom of speech, what hope does anyone else have? But the Great Awakening seems to be slowly stirring up people. With all this information coming out about Twitter files, Pfizer files, things like that, Twitter leaks, it's interesting to see where it's going, and I've got a little bit of hope, but I'm still pretty black-pilled on the whole situation. But if you're a Canadian, the next chance you guys get, go out there and do something to better your situation. You can't just sit around and hope that other people will do it for you, whether it's going out there and billeting for your local representative, helping in the community, just telling people that there's other options to the fascist Trudeau that you have right now. Same here as in Australia. If you're not doing anything to actively promote freedom and, moving the human race into a freer version of what we have now, moving us into a better future, I think you're actively working against it at this point. I mean, if you're trying to walk through 3 feet of quicksand and you've got someone holding on to you, they're not trying to kill you, but if they're weighing you down, they're going to kill you. And I think that's a lot of the quiet majority now, is they're weighing the rest of us down, and to the point where it's getting so bad that they are actually becoming enemies to freedom by just being ignorant, if you get what I mean. We're going to take a look at this Bud Light and their massive decline in sales. Also, after backing Dylan Mulvaney the other day, it looks like the woman in charge of that colossal mistake has stood down or been fired or gone on administrative leave, however you want to put it. I think she won't be coming back anytime soon. So we'll take a look at one of the biggest mistakes, I'd say, of any advertising campaign that I've ever seen. It's pretty bad. I mean, you lose $6 to $7 billion in the share market. I think it's fair to say you messed up a little. But we'll take a look at this story from Fox News here. Bud Light marketing VP takes leave of absence in wake of Dylan Mulvaney backlash. Anheuser-Busch is rearranging the management of its Bud Light brand following a boycott by conservative drinkers. Bud Light marketing vice president Alyssa Heinerschild is taking a leave of absence by and is being replaced, by Budweiser global marketing vice president Todd Allen. The company has also hired 2 consultants with experience in Washington, D.C. conservative circles to advise and brand moving forward. Origin advocacy consultant Sean McLean and Embassy Lynch have brought on to advise general policy regarding the alcohol beverage industry, according to lobbying disclosure reports filed at the US Senate on April 1st. McLean is a veteran of the former President Donald Trump's administration. He also served on the legislative staff of Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Lynch has previously held the policy staff under Republican Rep. Virginia Foxx and former Senator Kelly Ayotte? I don't know. Fox Business has reached out to Anheuser-Busch and McLean for comment, but the Bud Light remains embroiled in controversy after the brand sent transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney a personalized pack of beer for an ad for the company's March Madness contest. And to celebrate a year since Mulvaney began identifying as a woman, Mulvaney gained notoriety after interviewing President Biden on transgender issues in October. During the interview, Biden said that he does not believe states should restrict gender-affirming health care. Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch lost $5 billion in value after news of the partnership led nationwide calls to boycott the beer. Last week, Anheuser-Busch CEO Brandon Whitworth published a lengthy statement hoping to tamp down the animosity aimed at Bud Light with the parent company. As the CEO of the company founded in America's heartland more than 165 years ago, I am responsible for ensuring every customer feels proud of the beer we brew, Whitworth wrote. He continued, we have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and proud history supporting our communities, military, first responders, sports fans, hardworking Americans everywhere. Well, obviously not enough, because you went out of your way to hire this woke propagandist, I'd call her, into selling your beer to a child audience. I mean, now you're selling alcohol to children and you're trying to slap a trans flag on it so you can be in the media and in the spotlight. Also, whilst actively shitting on your actual customers to begin with. I mean, if you'd seen the actual ad that Dylan Mulvaney put out, it was pretty anti-American, anti-sports, anti-beer, I'd say. It's a bit weird that they went down that track. You could have at least pretended that he knew what was what sports was, what football was, what March Madness was, baseball, any of those, I don't know. But it basically just shat on your entire customer base for some woke propaganda. I don't get it. That's why people are upset. It's not that it's a transgender person. I mean, you could have put Blair White. It would have been a perfect candidate for Bud Light. I mean, Blair wants a vagina. Drinking Bud Light gives you a vagina. It's a well-known fact now. I don't know what you guys were thinking. Like, how did you not see this backfiring? I think the conservative people in the US, not just the US, around the world, but conservative people seem to not boycott things, not cancel things like the left does. The left loves to boycott stuff and create massive drama over something so small. I mean, you look at the Indians football team, or what was it, the Redskins? Sorry, the Redskin Lollies even. What was it, the American maple syrup, Aunt Jemima, or what the hell it was. All sorts of things that leftists get bent out of shape about. And the one time that the right-wing people do is when you mess with their beer. And I think that was a mistake, Anheuser-Busch. If it's costing them I've seen numbers up to $7 billion on the stock market. I think they've really screwed themselves over here. I mean, it's good that Americans might actually start drinking real beer. Bud Light is absolute piss water. I don't know why you drink it in the first place. I mean, it just goes to show you that if a pretend transgender person like Dylan Mulvaney is sitting in a bathtub drinking Bud Light, it's obviously a pretty piss weak beer. Maybe you guys need to start importing some Australian beer, maybe even some German beer. Germans know how to do it. Even Japanese beer is better than that. I mean, Asahi's not bad. It's not the best. It's definitely better than Bud Light, though. Let's just put it that way. But what do you guys think is going on with Dylan Mulvaney? Do you think it was a good move on Anheuser-Busch? Do you think people are just being bigoted and homophobic or transphobic, or do you think that they have a legitimate quarrel there, where you've supported a company for so long, then they go and stab you in the back and use a kiddie fiddler and trans activists pushing content on underage kids as their spokesperson? You could have used a handful of other people for that and not pissed off the entire population. But it just goes to show that sometimes, and miraculously this time, that conservatives and the right will actually band together and boycott something to the point where it's actually hurting them really, really badly. And I hope it continues. So don't forget, Anheuser-Busch, Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, any of their derivatives, any of Modelo, Budweiser, any of those things, don't drink them. Keep boycotting them. Let them know that they've messed up. And drink some real beer. Grow a set, and maybe drink some Australian beer, or go on to hard liquor. Hard liquor is always good because it makes you forget the terrible childhood you had. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.